911. Do you need...
Hello, police. Help me, I'm Amanda Berry.
You need police, fire, or ambulance?
I need police.
Okay, and what's going on there?
I've been kidnapped and I've been missing for 10 years and I'm here, I'm free now.
Okay, and what's your address?
2207 Seymour Avenue.
Who's the guy who's the guy who went out?
His name is Ariel Castro.
Today we will be looking at the cancer kidnapper of Cleveland, Ariel Castro. Ariel Castro was born July 10th, 1960. Ariel moved from Puerto Rico with his mother when he was a child. They landed in Exton, Pennsylvania, and then ultimately settled in Cleveland, Ohio, where he graduated from Lincoln West High School. He had a Cancer sun sign and an Aquarius moon. The thing to remember about Aquarius moon is with them sometimes it's easy to turn the emotions off and they can forget to turn the switch for the emotions back on. His first victim was Michelle Knight. Michelle Knight was born April the 23rd, 1981. Michelle Knight has a Taurus sun sign and a Sagittarius moon. She disappeared on August the 23rd, 2002, when she was scheduled for a child custody case about her son who was in state custody at that time. She was around the age of 21 when she disappeared. Ariel Castro's second victim was Amanda Berry. Amanda Berry's birth date was just one day after Michelle Knight's, but a different year. She was born on April the 22nd, 1986. Amanda has a Taurus sun sign and a Libra moon. She disappeared on April the 21st, a day before her 17th birthday. And a thing to remember about Taurus, this is where a lot of the piercing, because Taurus rules the ears and it rules parts of the lips. The renowned psychic Sylvia Brown apparently told Amanda Berry's mom that she was dead near water. However, it's important to note that she was not necessarily wrong about her impressions, she just failed to fully interpret them. Astral information is conveyed to our brain through symbolism and impressions that makes the most sense to us. Because Ariel Castro has a sun and a whole lot of other planets in the water sign of Cancer, this is the reason why Sylvia Brown probably got the strong impressions of water. And because her movement was restricted, and restrictions is ruled by Saturn, and it represents a dead state, this is the reason why she probably said that she was dead. However, dead near water is literally the same thing as restricted by Cancer or restricted by water. She just didn't explore the interpretations of her impressions thorough enough. Ariel Castro's third victim was Georgiana Lynn de Jesus. Georgiana de Jesus, known by the nickname of Gina, was born February the 13th, 1990. Now, the thing to remember about this is that her sun is in a sign of Aquarius. And being that her sun is in a sign of Aquarius, it sits on top of the moon of Ariel Castro. And this is probably the reason why they had something even closer. Georgiana de Jesus disappeared on April the 2nd, 2004, when the transit moon was in Virgo. Now, transit moon only means the everyday moon. You know, you got a moon from the day that you was born, and then you have a moon from the days as you go past called a progression, but then you have a moon that's every single day. And the moon is often a determining factor of when something is going to happen. The transit moon was in Virgo, forming a direct opposition to her progress sun, which happens to be in the sign of bondage and slavery. And if you didn't know, that's the sign of Pisces. She was last seen at a phone booth and was ironically friends with Ariel Castro's daughter. It's not clear if his daughter was living with him or not at any time. However, his daughter is stated to have had a strained relationship with him. Georgiana has an Aquarius sun and a Libra moon sun sign. The life with Ariel Castro started off with multiple accusations of domestic abuse involving his girlfriend. Based on his chart, his problems with women must have brought him many problems throughout his younger life. People with his chart usually come from very abusive mother figures. It shows women in his life to have had very violent tempers. By his Aquarius moon, square to Taurus, Mars, and opposed to his Leo Uranus. Of course, this is the information for our astrology students. For those who are not astrology students, all this meant is that Mars, the planet of war, was in full effect. But this often remained hidden to other people because he had a grand cross to his Scorpio Neptune. And from personally being chained to many serial criminals myself, it is important to understand what makes these individuals how they are. And then ask yourself, which is the greater danger? The explosion or the act that caused the explosion? And whichever one of those you choose, it is most important to understand them both.
I go on the porch, and she says, help me get out. I've been in here a long time. So, I figured it's a domestic violence dispute. So we kick the bottom, and she comes out with the little girl, and she says, call 911. My name was Amanda Berry. Bro, I knew something was wrong when a little pretty white girl ran into a black man's arms. Something is wrong here.
On May the 6th, 2013, for Amanda Berry, the perfect astrological storm happened. The transit moon, the everyday moon, was in Aries, and it was forming the most perfect trine to Saturn, the planet of restriction, which is in Sagittarius, the sign of freedom. Additionally, this was the year of her lunar return, with both her natal and progress moon being in Libra. This gave a full moon to her personal life. A full moon represents exposure and things coming to the light. This is literally what happened. A neighbor seen light through the door, and as she screamed, he heard the scream, and it was getting their attention, and him and another neighbor went and broke the door in and let her climb out. This day was also a gift for Michelle Knight, as the transit Aries moon, along with the Aries Uranus, which rules rebellion, added power to her natal Mars and Mercury, which again rules neighbors, in the fighting war sign of Aries. All of this was a gift to them. It was a gift to their Neptune, which rules bondage, and their moon in the sign of Sagittarius, which again rules freedom. Georgina De Jesus, this day was seen the most challenging. After all, she had been there most of the time as an adolescent, teenager, and young adult, with her Aquarius Mercury, which rules neighbors again. This was an opportunity for her as well. However, there was a lot more conflict for her that day. I know some of the women were accused of being complacent and even aiding Ariel Castro during different intervals, but I don't see those interviews no more. However, this is what's called the Stockholm Syndrome. This was witnessed during the crime of human trafficking known as slavery. But just as well, I have seen this inside of a lot of prisons. People, for different reasons, begin to identify more with their captors than they do with the people who are their comrades. And often they give the example of the Stockholm Syndrome with Patty Hearst, which was a person who allegedly was kidnapped and then began to help her so-called kidnappers rob banks. But this day was not good for everybody. On this day, the House of Cards, known as the House of Horrors, came crumbling down for Ariel Castro. This transit Aries moon would form a square and give a big fight to Ariel Castro's Mercury, which rules his neighbor, to his Venus, which rules his relationships, and to his Sun, which rules his reputation. Nevertheless, it will be a gift for him also. This day will give him freedom as well. He will become free from himself. Transit moon making a really good aspect to rebellious Uranus inside of Leo, and the free Jupiter is at home in Sagittarius. On July the 12th, the grand jury indicted him for 512 counts of kidnapping, 446 counts akin to criminal sexual conduct, 2 counts of aggravated murder, and 2 other charges. The aggravated murder came from the countless induced miscarriages that he was accused of. The day the transit moon was in Virgo showed a gift for him evident on July 26th, when he took an offered plea of 937 charges and sentenced to life plus 1,000 years, which to him, this was a come-up because the other alternative was the death penalty. The transit moon was in the sign of Pisces on that day, and Pisces, again, is the ruler of slavery and of bondage.
Good Wednesday morning. We begin with that breaking news from Ohio. A truly stunning development. Ariel Castro found dead of an apparent suicide.
The man who pleaded guilty earlier this year, running a house of horrors in Cleveland, was to spend the rest of his life in prison. No one knew his life would end so soon. Castro was found last night hanging in his 12-foot by 8-foot prison cell. He was in protective custody in that cell alone because of the notoriety of his case. Castro was checked on by prison staff every 30 minutes, but he wasn't on suicide watch. When he was found, CPR was performed before he was taken to a hospital. Castro was pronounced dead just before 11 p.m. local time last night. Obviously, there are a lot of questions this morning about how Castro was apparently able to take his own life. Ohio police are just beginning their investigation. We will have much more on Good Morning America.
On September the 3rd, 2013, Ariel Castro was found hanging from his detention cell at Orient Correctional Reception Center, often called quarantine in many other states. Although they report that he killed himself by hanging himself with sheets, they later had a conflict in this report and said that he didn't kill himself but died from autoerotic asphyxiation and not suicide. However, the 2 guards were found to have falsified and tampered documents, so no one knows when rounds was made, and there was no imagery or cameras to show what happened inside of that room. On Ariel's Castro's death date, both Pluto and transit Pluto in progress, Saturn and Moon were conjunct in his natal Capricorn. This gave tremendous power opposing his sun, which rules the heart and the lifeline. Now, it's important to note that inside of a prison, it's not at all unusual for prison guards to kill prisoners. And usually when they do this, they make it look like the prisoner hung themselves. I know this as a fact. And it's usually a lot of things that show it's no way possible for this person to have hung themselves. For instance, there's usually not anything high enough for them to dangle from. And also, there be instances where you have socks and stuff stuck inside of the person's mouth. What other reason could the socks be there but to prevent them from screaming? As of this day, his death was ruled a suicide. However, if it was a suicide, this would have been planned 2 days prior, but there's also strong astrological indicators that this may have been an assassination. Thank you. This is Gangster Astrology and Rap Beef. Please like, comment, and subscribe.